Some deaths are instant. A fall, a snap, and it's over. Others are slow, painful, and terrifying. The kind where you actually have time to understand what's happening to you. So in this video, I'm ranking deaths in the nowhere, from the least amount of suffering to the absolute worst. And before we start, like the video and subscribe if you enjoy Little Nightmares content. It really helps the channel reach more fans of this series. Now, quick honorable mention, the 18 glitching remains. They're believed to be killed by either the viewers or the Thin Man, but we never actually see how they die. Some of them are kids from the comics, yet even there their deaths aren't shown. So since we can't measure their suffering, I'm not ranking them, but they deserve to be mentioned. At the bottom of the list, I'm putting the bullies. Their deaths are violent, sure, but these things act like they don't even care. They laugh, they taunt, they chase you like it's a game. Even when they're getting destroyed, they don't feel like victims. They feel like they were built for this. Next are the living puppets who got destroyed by Low and Alone. They move like possessed dolls, like empty bodies that don't really have a mind of their own. So even though the way they're destroyed looks rough, it doesn't feel like they're truly suffering in the human sense. Then I'm putting the Beatles here too. They're not important characters, but their deaths are quick. Shot, crushed, done. Now we get into deaths that are mostly sudden. Some members of the herd fit here. A lot of them die off-screen, and we just find bodies in places like the desert or the bar. One falls to his death after Low and Alone disable his mechanical pulley. It's still death, but it's fast. No long torture, no drawn-out fear. The Necropolis citizens, turned to stone by the monster baby off-screen, also likely get an instant end. Compared to what happens to others in the nowhere, being petrified almost feels merciful. The guests are next. Their life is drained by Six after she gains the lady's powers. It's horrifying to see, but it happens quickly. They don't get time to fight it. Then we have the Thin Man, disintegrated by Mono. Quick and final, no lingering. And Alone is a weird case. She doesn't scream, she doesn't struggle, she doesn't even get a choice. She's erased when the mirror closes, like she was never there. It's sad, but since she's Low's imagined creation, I'm keeping her lower. It's still painful, just not the same kind of physical suffering as the deaths higher up. Now we move into deaths where there's clearly pain and often fear too. Not the worst in the series, but definitely not painless. The girl in the yellow raincoat and the Pretender both fall from cliffs and drown. Drowning is already terrible, but the Pretender gets it worse. She's struck by the rock Six drops on her head before the water takes her. That's injury plus drowning. Next is the Hunter, shot by Mono and Six. A shotgun isn't clean. Even if it ends fast, there's still pain, shock, and those last moments where you realize you lost. Then we've got the living hands, beaten to death by Mono. Being beaten to death is never quick, and it's one of those deaths that feels brutal because it's up close. No monster powers, no instant kill, just repeated hits until it ends. Back to the herd, one of them is beaten and hanged by his own kind, like a grotesque piñata. That's not just death, it's humiliation and cruelty on top of it. Other herd members drown after Low shoots a lever, dropping them into water baskets. Again drowning, slow, panicked, and painful. A gnome gets his neck snapped by the kin, quick, but still violent. The nurse dies the same way, her neck snapped by the flytrap's tongue. The runaway girl is tricky because we don't know her confirmed fate. Some believe she was eaten by leeches. If that's true, then yeah, she belongs in this tier because that's a slow and horrifying way to go. A viewer is electrocuted by Mono. That's fast, but it's still pain. Another viewer falls to his death while trying to reach a TV. That kind of death is quick, but imagine being so addicted that you die for it. And finally, some of them commit suicide by jumping from buildings. That alone says enough. Now for the highest suffering. The lunch lady is one of the creepiest. She's found dead, face torn apart off screen, and we don't even know who did it. Maybe the bullies, maybe a child, maybe something worse. The fact that it happened off screen makes it feel even darker. The hypnotist is crushed when the institute collapses. Being buried under debris, trapped, and crushed is one of the worst ways to die. No control, no escape. One of the herd is sawed in half by another herd off-screen. That's not just death, that's cruelty. The wax bellman appears to have hanged himself. It's a theory, but it fits. The supervisor is crushed to death by a hydraulic press after Low and Alone activate it, making her death ironic and fitting given her role in the factory. Minikin is burned alive by Low and Alone using the balloon burner. Fire is already one of the worst deaths, and he gets it directly. But the doctor suffers even more. He's burned alive inside his own incinerator, trapped in the machine he built for others. That's physical suffering and poetic punishment at the same time. Still, it's extreme. The granny is electrocuted while submerged in water, making it even worse than the viewer's electrocution. Water turns it into pure torture. The janitor dies off-screen after his arms are crushed, most likely bleeding out slowly. That's not instant. That's a long time to suffer. Then there's the lady. Her throat is torn out. She's eaten by 6. That is as violent and personal as it gets. And finally, the worst death in the nowhere, at least for me, the runaway kid. He helps everyone. He saves 6, and in return, she eats him alive. That's not just pain, that's betrayal, because he has time to understand what's happening, that the person he believed in is the reason he's dying. Fear, pain, confusion, and that moment of realization, all at once. So that's my ranking. And obviously, some of these placements depend on how you interpret certain deaths, especially the ones we don't fully see. So if you'd rank them differently, or if you think I missed someone, comment your list. I actually want to see what other fans think.